Last time you heard me, you didn't sin. Some of you have to take it by faith. So today the faith becomes sight. Thank you for joining us in Jerusalem. A couple of words of introduction before Dennis takes the mic, but this is the place that's called, as you have seen already on the inside, Ammunition Hill in the Hebrew language. If your brain can still take some more Hebrew, it's Givat HaTachmoshet. One of the fiercest battles took place right on top of this hill and round about you, exactly 50 years ago, when the city of Jerusalem was liberated by the Israeli paratroopers during the Six-Day War. My son, John, which Dennis knows, was inducted into the 890th Battalion of the paratroopers right here on this hilltop not too many months ago. So this is still an active military spot. It's an active military spot. We have a lot of special events, special visitors, and you are in a very special place. I would say for our American friends, this would be a similar equivalence to Gettysburg. It's not about the Civil War, it's about our Arab-Israeli wars, but it is the same sentiment. Sacrifice, valor, victory, price to be paid, a great prize to gain. And so the next few days that you will be in and about Jerusalem, remember that probably the main battle to take the eastern part of the city and to reunite Jerusalem one more time after thousands of years happened right here on this hilltop. And those of you who remember the instructions and the directions inside, some of the fiercest fights took right here within a stone's throw away. It is no wonder that the prophet Zechariah, Dennis would remember that prophecy in chapter 12, spoke about Jerusalem. More than 2,400 years ago, Jerusalem was just a small, probably town on a hillside run by the Jebusites, and yet David was taking it as the capital of Israel, and Zechariah prophesied. Chapter 12, you might remember the word. He says, the days are coming, saith the Lord, when I will make Jerusalem a burdensome stone, a heavy stone. All who tried to lift her up will be bruised. The Hebrew word for that is shever. The prophet says, if you try to lift up Jerusalem, it's too heavy, you're going to get a hernia. And you look at the world today, and you look at the news today, how a 2,400-year-old prophecy is true and accurate in today's media. And then he says, not only the Lord will make Jerusalem a burdensome stone, too heavy to lift, but the prophet says, I will make of her a cup of poison, kos ra'al. He says, whoever tries to drink of her inappropriately will go nuts, will lose their mind. And you look at the world institutions today, and governments and leaders and wannabes, everybody's trying to settle the affairs of Jerusalem, but the Almighty have spoken. And his Jerusalem will remain a challenge and a stumbling block to the end for those who do not know the Lord or honor the book. So thanks for joining us in a very, very special place like this. Dennis is going to come and take the mic. Take your time. Most of us settled in the shade. Thanks for migrating with us to the shade. The sun has a tendency to keep moving. So if you need to keep moving, that's fine with us. I don't think it will bother Dennis at all.
Thank you, Reuven. Give Reuven a hand, will you? Because he is remarkable, just remarkable. The complexity of the operation that he runs, I find his work is awesome. I was a little hurt, however, not hurt, sobered, when he said, and Dennis will remember Zechariah. I know I'm getting old, but Dennis will remember Zechariah. I know, yeah, but still, I don't remember Zechariah. These are the great moments. All right, Alan is bringing me some of the questions that you folks have posed. So let me just brief you in a little bit. I haven't seen you in 2 days. There's a lot that's happened in 2 days. I don't even know if I mentioned to you, because there's so much that's still going on. Obviously, back home, I've been doing my show from here in Jerusalem, from my hotel room. Interestingly, do you know that Prager University has sued Google? Did I speak to you about that? Yes, that does deserve applause because this is a battle that so transcends Prager University, obviously. But just to tell you just for a moment about it, because I really want to focus on Israel. That stuff you can hear about when you go home. But I think you just should know that there really is, as you know, I do believe, sadly, a second civil war in America. And people with our convictions are, I don't think outnumbered, but certainly outpowered. The media, academia alone, I mean, just that is obviously a great power. People ask, isn't Google owns YouTube, and they have been gradually removing our videos from, or putting them onto restricted lists. And it is, it's really awful. They also demonetized something I didn't even know about, but you know, ads come up on YouTube things, so they're not even allowing those ads to come up on YouTube so as to hopefully monetarily break us. Interestingly, without even asking for it, $200,000 came in from people helping to defray legal costs just in 2 days. And we didn't even ask for it. I never even hinted at it. It wasn't even hinted at. But people are passionate, knowing that this is a real battle. And people say, well, isn't it a private enterprise? Don't you conservatives believe that a private company can do what it wants? Well, of course, within greatly expansive bounds, of course a private company could do what it wants. But this is more like a utility. It would be as if, I think the analogy is pretty accurate, if Delta Airlines announced tomorrow that it's a private airline and it simply doesn't want conservatives to fly on its airline. Now, why would that be wrong? It's a private airline. Why can't it do what it wants? Why is that different from Google, which is the airplane for ideas? And by the way, at least if you don't fly Delta, well, you can fly American and you can fly United and so on. But if you don't fly Google and YouTube, you don't fly. That's it. That's the way in which information is conveyed in the world today, for better, or at least the Western world, for better or for worse. And obviously now for worse. So the argument is not a legitimate argument. If there were many rivals, then fine. One of them says, look, we're a left-wing source and only left-wing things can be aired on our website, then fine. And I said that because I'll be on Fox Business right after this, and then I'll be on Tucker Carlson on I think, Monday. And because these are the things that people need to understand, and I'm happy that I'm getting the word out, that it is not analogous to just a private company wanting to do what it wants. I thought of another analogy the other day. Remember the Yellow Pages? Are you old enough to remember the Yellow Pages? Well, the Yellow Pages, I think, I don't know if it was produced by the phone company, but let's say some of them were produced independently. What if they said, we will not allow any conservative organization, any person with a conservative view to be listed under plumbers? Only left-wing plumbers will be allowed to be listed here. That would give you another analogy as to what is happening. So we'll see what happens, but I did want to apprise you of that. Yesterday, I gave one of the most touching, I was at one of the most touching events of my public life yesterday. I told my wife today, I put it up there with conducting at the Walt Disney Concert Hall in August. That's how big I thought it was. I spoke yesterday at Israel's only religious university, Ilan University. Many secular students are there, but it is founded, like we have Christian universities, so this is a Jewish university. Well, you say, aren't all the universities in Israel Jewish universities? Well, not really. They're secular universities just like we would have in the United States. And by the way, as a result, often quite to the left as well. Israel has a not dissimilar division. It's not quite as intense, but it exists. And I was invited, to my great, great joy, by the Department of Bible Studies, which is its premier department. It is the largest Bible studies department, they said, in the world, with hundreds of professors, which is unbelievable. And so I was invited to speak on the Bible. And my undertaking with my commentary on the Bible that's coming out, the first volume coming out, as I told you, in April. And first of all, I will tell you, as bad as it may sound, I was thrilled that the whole hall was packed. And it's a result, see, that's the interesting thing, that is a result of social media. How do Israeli students know I exist? It's because of YouTube. It's because of Prager U on YouTube and on Facebook and so on. And it was full. It was over full in the middle of the day, and professors were there. And I got a chance to tell them about my views on the Bible. And they loved it. And I didn't know how they would react, because they were all yarmulke wearing, nearly all yarmulke wearing students. I am a religious, not Orthodox Jew, which, as I told them in my opening remarks, drives two types of Jews crazy. Orthodox Jews, and non-Orthodox Jews. Those are the only types of Jews I drive crazy. But I did speak on this, and it will be up on YouTube. They videoed it, and I would love you to see it. You will enjoy it very, very much. Me speaking to a Jewish audience in Israel about the Torah and why I believe its message is for all of humanity. And I will give you just one argument of so many that I make for this about why I believe it has the same exact validity of message to non-Jews as to Jews. How does the Bible begin? In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Right? Did I mention this argument to you earlier? I don't want to repeat myself. Okay. So this is very interesting. This is not an ethnic history. The Torah is not just a history of the Jews. It is a history of the world. No history of any group ever began, and in the beginning, God created the world. We don't have that. I mean, if we write an American history, wouldn't it be odd if somebody wrote, in the beginning, God created the world, and then in 1776, we decided to become an independent country. What are you talking? Who cares? What's the first part have to do with it? But that shows you it's dedicated to all of humanity. And this struck them as a powerful idea. The other thing that I pointed out, which this is my first answer whenever anybody asks me, well, why do you believe the Bible? And specifically ask me about the Old Testament. And I say, well, I'll tell you why. Because no religious book ever depicted its own group so negatively. That's why if people made this up and it didn't ultimately come from the divine, then they wouldn't have depicted themselves so awfully. The Jews don't come out great in the Jewish Bible. So Jews clearly didn't make it up. You don't make up a lousy history of yourself. We were so lousy, God wanted to destroy us. We were so lousy, Moses broke the first tablets. It's just on and on. And then the heroes are so often non-Jew. Who saves Moses? The daughter of Pharaoh. Who would make up an idea that the daughter of the guy who is trying to exterminate you and has enslaved you for hundreds of years is the hero of the story? Who would make that up? It's not a make-up. And then the Jews had their major rival for so long were the Midianites. And yet who is the closest human being to Moses? A Midianite, Jethro. A Midianite priest. This stuff, you don't make this stuff up. So let's just give you a few ideas. I'll give you one more thing that is different, because I showed them there is so much that changes your life when you study it properly. And if you're an avid listener to my show, you've heard it, but I know I haven't said it often. There wouldn't be a reason that I would have. The commandment is in the 10 Commandments. The fifth commandment is the fifth, which is Shabbat is the fifth. It's the fourth commandment. The fourth commandment is to, I know the order except for fourth and fifth. Anyway, honor your father and mother. And honor, this is a very powerful commandment. And this is the reason that I give for its power. We are commanded in the Bible to love God, love our neighbor, and love the stranger. But we're never told to love our parents. And I think this was a brilliant insight into the human condition. Not everybody can love their parents, but just about everybody can honor their parents. And I often give the example, in my commentary, I don't name the president because I don't want to politicize the commentary, but I remember vividly when I was broadcasting prior to my national show from Los Angeles on ABC radio, in came into the studio Jimmy Carter. And I stood up. I can't stand Jimmy Carter. I couldn't stand him then, and I can't stand him now. But I stood up because you stand up for the president. And that's how you feel. You can't stand your parents, you still stand up. That's what honor means. And by the way, we're not told to honor anyone else in the world. We're not told to honor kings. We're not even told to honor God. But we're told to honor our parents. That's how special that is in the biblical view. That's why that's the book that is so powerful in my life, and why I've devoted all decades to trying to make its insights available to people. So that's what I spoke about yesterday, and you'll be able to see that on YouTube if they don't take it down. Who knows? They took one of the videos of Prager University that they actually, it's actually funny in a dark sort of way. They took down the video that I did on thou shalt not murder, the sixth commandment, as inappropriate for children. Why is thou shalt not murder inappropriate for children? What is, I can't even figure it out. But that's how bad it's gotten. And so it's a fight. So all right, so I ask that you folks ask some questions. I would love to have taken your questions, but outdoors, some of you are in another time zone back there. And hi there, I do see some hands, thank you. Well, do you hear me? Do you see me? So otherwise, if we were all indoors and you all had microphones, I would take you that way. I just want to reinforce one other thing with regard to the Israel visit here. Now I think you have a better idea why I so recommend that parents send their children to Israel between high school and college. It will be such an eye-opener, and then they'll go to college, they'll hear how terrible Israel is. Like the cartoon, did I tell you about the cartoon in the Berkeley newspaper? Did I? Yes? No? Okay, so it was a horrible, horrible cartoon. I very rarely use the word anti-Semitic, but it's showing, the Professor Alan Dershowitz, who would come to Berkeley to give a speech in defending Israel, and they show a caricature of him, and behind this facade, he is stepping on Palestinians, and there is blood squirting out. It's just a vile caricature, and it's a gross lie. It's one of the great libels in the history of the world about Israel. So if your child comes here, your grandchild comes here after high school, before college, and then they'll go to college and hear how terrible Israel is, maybe they'll realize that not only are they being told lies about Israel, but told lies about America as well. This is a good way, I think, to have them sort of inoculated against the terrible untruths that they will be told when they go to college, which increasingly is a place that whose moral compass is just broken. Okay, here we go. Let's see what we can do here. Hi, Dennis. Hi.
Thanks so much for your usual compelling talks the last couple of days. Your talk yesterday was a little confusing, however. Since you are Jewish, do you believe Jesus performed miracles? If not, aren't you contradicting? If so, how could a mortal do this? I am a religious skeptic here with my believing wife, trying to learn. Oh, that's a perfect marriage. No, it probably is a perfect marriage. I think he sounds like a beautiful human being trying to learn. So that's very interesting. He was a little confused. Okay, do I believe Jesus performed miracles? I personally don't believe that he performed those miracles. If I did, I'd be Christian. But so what? I want you to believe that he performed the miracles, and I don't think you're fooling yourself. Any more than I don't think that I'm fooling myself if I believe that God parted the sea. I know this does sound contradicting, like I should stand here theoretically and say, are you kidding? You could believe in that? Of course you can believe in that. I don't, and by the way, I don't say he didn't perform the miracles. But it's not my faith world, obviously. Otherwise I'd be Christian. But if Christians stop believing that Jesus performed those miracles, the world is screwed. Okay, I'm sorry to be what's the word? Coarse in my language. If America's Christians stop believing in Christianity, we're doomed. So that's why I fight for you. I fight for you because you're good people, and I fight for you because I love America. And I know what it's based on, that the strongest group in America are believing Christians. And if your children stop believing this, what do we have? So I am gung-ho in advocating that you keep your faith, you strengthen your faith. You know how many people call my show or send me an email? You know, it's really ironic, but I tell people it's a Jew who brought me back to Christ. It's a Jew who brought me back to my church. And I'm thrilled when they write that to me. That's terrific. I'm happy for it. So I hope that's clear. I am also, let me put it even from a Jewish perspective, not an American perspective. Christians brought the Torah to the world much more than Jews did. You, Christians, brought my holy work to the world. It's your holy work too, obviously. That's why you did it. And this was said by the greatest Jewish philosopher who ever lived in the 12th century, Maimonides. This is not, I didn't make that notion up. It's not unique to me. Any Jew who knows history knows that. That's why we need each other. That's why people don't like the term Judeo-Christian, because that is one powerful, hyphenated identity. That's the best. If finally, after 2,000 years, Jews and Christians can work together, because we have to, because the world of the godless in the West is bringing the West down. I have no joy in the converting of French churches into parking lots, into department stores, or for that matter, into mosques, without saying anything anti-Muslim. But I worry more about a Muslim France than I do about a Catholic France. I admit it. I wish I didn't have to worry, but I do. So I hope that answers you. I remember some of you have even said to me, I remember you from Religion on the Line, some of you from Los Angeles. That was how I first began my radio career, as the moderator of a priest, minister, rabbi, and I told you one of the stories of that. And it was an experience for me to understand. I learned Christianity through the eyes of all these Christian clergy, week after week after week for 10 years. Finally, I will tell you, Christians would come over to me and they'd say, you know, Dennis, I feel funny telling you, but you defended Christianity better than the pastor did. And the truth is, often I did. I remember a guy calling once. There's a long answer to this question. This may be the only question I'll answer now that I think of it. A guy called up. So people would call up, and they'd often challenge the clergy or whatever. So a guy called up, and he started really challenging the priest and the minister. And he goes, "Oh, please, you believe that, God came in human form? Give me a break, man." And, just started mocking the idea. And finally, I realized they weren't doing a great job. They were sweet people, but they weren't used to having to defend their beliefs. But I'm used to defending beliefs. And I said, "Sir, let me ask you a question. What does it bother you so much that something as beautiful as God so identified with the suffering of humanity that decided to come in human form and suffer? What exactly disturbs you about that?" And that was pretty much it. He didn't have a lot to say. But I just want to tell you, the same went the other direction. One of my favorite stories from that show, one night a guy calls up and gives the rabbi a hard time. "Rabbi, how can you believe in such a chauvinistic belief like chosenness? That is so ethnocentric and chauvinist. How do you believe in such a thing? You Jews should drop that belief." Well, the rabbi clearly was, I think, half sympathetic to the questioner. I think he's uncomfortable about chosenness as well, and he didn't give an answer. Finally, the Catholic priest raises his hand and says, "Dennis, may I answer?" I'm like, "Sure, Father Michael, go right ahead." He says, "This is Father Michael, the Roman Catholic priest. Caller, God chose the Jews. Get a life." It was one of the great moments in 10 years of doing that show. It was a perfect response. I mean, you're annoyed that God chose the Jews? Okay, you know what? Half the Jews are annoyed too. All right? They wish somebody else got chosen for a while. It hasn't exactly worked out to the benefit of the Jews all that much. So anyway, all right, I hope that answers your question. Next, why is logic anathema to the left? Okay. If the left worked by logic, they wouldn't be on the left. No, I mean that literally. If you ask logically, does raising the minimum wage help or hurt poor people? If logic determined your response, you would not raise the minimum wage. That's all. It's not logic. If logic determined whether admitting students to college based on race were a good thing for those kids, forget for the whole society, then you wouldn't advocate affirmative action based on race. On any subject, I know it is not logic. Does logic dictate that the bigger the government is, the more effective it will be? No. It's just a desire to ever increase the size and power of government. It's not based on logic, it's based on doctrine. Doctrine comes first, logic comes second. So that's the answer. That's why that is the reason you are called sexist, intolerant, xenophobic, homophobic, Islamophobic, racist, and bigoted, because when you can't answer people with logic, you answer them with an epithet. You call them a name. That's the reason. What are our names for them? What's the conservative equivalent to Six Herb? There isn't. What do we call them? Wrong. But wrong is not sexist, intolerant, xenophobic, homophobic, racist, bigoted, and so on. No, this is a long one. All right. Question for Dennis Prager. One would think that in order for newspapers and news media to maximize profit, they would simply present unbiased facts and let people decide. When I've asked news anchors why the media is so liberal biased, the answer I get is, it's always been that way. What do you think is the reason that the liberal media continue to be so biased? Is it related to the influx of liberal, quote, journalists, unquote, during the Watergate years? First, on the profit issue. They prefer doctrine to prophets. You have to understand, they believe in what they believe as strongly as you believe in what you believe.
To a person on the left, leftism is as much a religion as to a Christianity is a religion. That's it. And therefore, since it's a leap of faith, you see, here's where we religious people are different. I have my faith. You have your faith. They have their faith. But I admit that it's a faith. I admit it. I've taken a leap of faith. God appeared to Moses and gave Moses the 10 Commandments on Mount Sinai. I admit it. But they don't admit that they have taken a leap of faith. They believe that what they believe is scientifically and logically imperative. You can't think otherwise. So whereas we acknowledge the faith component of our faith, they don't acknowledge that they have a faith component. That's the dangerous part of it. They don't believe that the carbon dioxide emissions are going to destroy the world because of science. They use science as a veneer for a faith. I wrote once something to the effect that, when a religious person says the world is coming to an end, we call him a nut. When a secular person says the world is coming to an end, we call them a scientist, or whatever it is, or an activist. But it's just not happening. I don't deny that the world is getting warmer, but it's getting warmer in such a minuscule way. I mean, I love this. We had just now, I think, a 12-year hiatus, the biggest hiatus in recorded history of hurricanes hitting mainland the U.S. Did you know that? But the papers never report that. They never reported, it's amazing. We've had the biggest hiatus ever recorded of no major hurricane hitting the U.S. mainland. Then we get 2 big ones hitting the mainland. You see, global warming. Whatever happens, it's global warming, it's carbon emissions. This is a faith thing on their part. So when these people say, well, you would have more readers if you were more balanced, they don't care. The purpose of a newspaper, the person who wrote that to me is from the Twin Cities area. The Star Tribune does not believe its purpose is to present the news objectively. It is to further social justice. Which is a greater moral good, promoting social justice or presenting the news objectively? And which is sexier, right? Which really gets your blood flowing? Saving society or news reporting? Okay, that's what's happening. All right, next. What is the one talk away from the group's trip to Israel you wish to leave us with? What is the one talk away from the... Oh, what? Thank you. Are you the one who wrote it? You figured it out. You're right. What is the one takeaway, correct, from the group's trip to Israel you wish to leave us with? Oh, that's good. The one takeaway is that the Bible is true. That God intervened in this world at some point, and that the return of the Jews to Israel is evidence of that fact. And that you were in a place that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that we are where we are today. 2,000 years ago, if somebody would have said, oh, in 2,000 years you'll be back, they would have been laughed at. Nobody ever did this. No, there's no such thing. People assimilate when they leave their country. I mean, to be honest, if Americans left America, were kicked out of America, and there are hundreds of millions of Americans, far more than there were Jews in ancient Israel. In 2,000 years, would all Americans come back, speak English, and identify as Americans in the United States of America geographically? It's very, very doubtful. It just doesn't happen. Look, we're having a hard time keeping up an American identity living in America. This is what worries us. Superman, and I reported this on the air, Superman is now not an American. He announced in the comic book last year In front of the United Nations, I am no longer an American citizen. I am a citizen of the world. Your children at college are taught to be world citizens. People who identify as Americans, they are taught, are small-minded. So this is a miracle. You are living a miracle. And the other takeaway is modern Israel, this vibrant, amazing society surrounded by places that believe in death. Those of you who know your Bible know the great line, I have put before you today, I think it's Deuteronomy. I have put before you today the life and death, and you shall choose life. When I learned it as a kid in about 5th grade, I remember thinking, and I always had a sort of chutzpah way of thinking. Even if the Torah said it, I thought, that's goofy. Who's going to choose death? What kind of line is that? I put before you life and death, choose life. Who's going to choose death? But I was wrong and the Torah was right. Because this country is surrounded by societies that choose death. The most honored people in Palestinian society, and there are undoubtedly many wonderful individual Palestinians, I have no doubt about it at all. But the most honored people in Palestinian society are people who choose death. Their own and others. That's an amazing thing. You know what the head of Gaza said? So very often he has said it. It's almost one of their mottos. We love death as much as the Jews love life. It's as if he knows Deuteronomy. They say it. It's an amazing thing. When I first read that, I thought, wow, I was wrong in 5th grade. There really are people who choose death. So I hope those are takeaways from the trip. There's another takeaway. Don't be so worried when you travel. I'll go when it's safe. I told you, I only feel bad for the people. I said it on the radio last night. I said, I'm not giving you who didn't come a hard time. And I wouldn't. It's not my task to do that because you're scared. But in life, and I'm going to do a happiness hour on this. It occurred to me last night that I need to do a happiness hour on fear. How much you lose out in life because of fear. So you're a living example. I'm sure some of you had some degree of misgivings. What's going to happen? There'll be a terror attack or what have you. But the odds are overwhelming. I mean, they're like lightning. Don't walk when it rains. You may get hit by lightning. Don't cross the street. You could be hit by a car. And you'll feel good when you go back. Wow, that was emboldening. So conquering fear is a big deal. I always feel bad for people who are afraid to fly. If I were afraid to fly, my life would be so circumscribed. I mean, I have the opposite actually. I'm almost as abnormal as the person who won't fly. Within a few moments of sitting on the plane, I fall asleep. Planes actually relax me, as is a bizarre reaction. I haven't seen a takeoff in about 6 years. I have to say, it's somewhat, my wife finds it hilarious that, Dennis, hello, Dennis, we're taking off. I have no idea. So I am lucky. For me, it's a non-issue, and I'm not better than that person. I'm just luckier. I admit it. But there are times you can conquer fears. People fear everything, like I get calls from people. It's on the micro as well, My parents divorced, so I fear getting married. So I have a really good answer for these people. If your parents were in a bad car accident, would you fear driving? Why is that any different? Oh, I'm not going to drive. My parents were rendered paralyzed by a car accident. I never understood that. My parents divorced, so I'm afraid to get married. Then you don't do anything. You should certainly fear having children. That's much more frightening when you think about it. They don't always turn out exactly as you anticipated on their birth date. Okay. Will the
Muslim Reformation movement succeed? I don't know of a Muslim Reformation movement, but I do hope it succeeds if it exists. I was invited to Claremont Graduate School in Southern California half a year ago, about 6 months ago. And I was amazed they invited me, and I was amazed they invited me to speak on this subject. Does Islam need a reformation? And they had me and the other person, a sort of dialogue debate, was the head of the Muslim Public Affairs Committee, a very, very large Muslim advocacy organization. And I said there, and there were Muslims in the audience, there were professors who were pro-Islam, and I said, yes, Islam needs a reformation. Islam has not been a religion of peace. It's not true. It's not an indictment of all Muslims, but it is. We need to tell the truth. It's not been a religion of peace since its inception. It's an amazing thing. I said it in front of this leading Muslim. Women in headscarves were in the audience. I wasn't booed. I wasn't hissed. Nobody walked out. And it proves something that you know about me. How you say things is as important as what you say. It was clear I didn't say it out of hatred. In fact, if anything, I said it out of sadness. I wish Islam did mean peace, but it doesn't, and it hasn't. It might be able to be, and so the reformation that this person asks about is necessary. Will Saudi Arabia finally allowing women to drive a car be the beginning of a reformation? I don't know. Saudi Arabia has a lot to atone for because it has been in the forefront of radicalizing Muslims in Europe and America, in the madrasas, the Muslim schools that they have built. Will the Jews and Arabs live together believing that each is being treated fairly? Well, see my 5-minute video about the Middle East conflict. They will live together the day the Arabs around Israel say, okay, we recognize that a Jewish state of Israel. We recognize that the Jews lived here thousands of years ago, have never cut their ties to this land, and we want to live in peace with them. We're putting down our weapons. Then they'll live in peace. What democracy doesn't want peace? I don't think one has ever existed. Free countries want peace. Police states want war. There's no free country that doesn't want peace. Israelis want to send their kids to school, have them make a decent living just like everybody else. They don't want to conquer anybody. They don't want to rule over anybody. But there's got to be room for a state the size of New Jersey among the 22 Arab states that exist in this region. One Jewish state isn't asking that much. I live in an area where liberals outnumber conservatives by a wide margin. That means you live in a city. On this trip with such a large number of like-minded people, I've discovered the conversations we have been having are at a much higher level than I'm used to. That's precious. It's frighteningly true. It's painfully true. Do you have any suggestions on how we can elevate the level of conversations we can give in one's home? We can engage in one's home. Yes, take the phone numbers of all the people you've talked to here and call them frequently. That is my suggestion. There is no solution. There is no solution. They don't differ with you on the facts. They don't differ with you on logic. They differ with you on passion. That's it. And so it's very hard to engage in a conversation. Look, the New York Times had an article in November, a few weeks after the election. Front page, I couldn't believe they published it, but every so often they do. About all the families that were not getting together for Thanksgiving or Christmas last year. And because of the Democrat and Republican divide. But the article did note it was overwhelmingly the people who voted for the Democrat who wouldn't visit the people who voted for the Republican. I don't know anybody who voted for Trump who won't visit their parents who voted for Hillary Clinton. If I met such a Republican, I'd smack him. And I'd say, hello, honor your father and mother is more important than whether they voted for Hillary or Trump. And they would probably say, good point, I'm going. But on their side, there are kids, parents tell me, it was in the article, won't speak to a parent who voted for Donald Trump. That's evil. It's a combination of psychologically sick and morally evil. You voted for Trump, I won't talk to you. Look, I wrote a piece which is very sad about Marranos, and I've talked about this on the radio, so some of you know about this. During the Spanish Inquisition in the late 1400s, there were Jews who practiced Catholicism publicly and privately practiced Judaism. They were called Marranos. They were hidden Jews, as it's called. We have that today. People who are privately conservative, and publicly nothing. And I met with a professor here in Israel. I'm sorry to say that it exists here too. The left controls the universities here, except for Bar Ilan, pretty much as in the United States. Secular left is secular left. Doesn't matter if it's France, Israel, or US. And he said to me, because he follows my work, he said, I'm a Marrano. He doesn't let his colleagues know that he is a conservative, and supports Trump in the United States. He's an Israeli, but he supports Trump. And if he said that to his fellow professors, he would be regarded as vile. That's why I don't have much hope. You should always keep the lines of communication open, but that's why I remember my good old motto, just say you prefer clarity to agreement. I don't want to talk you into anything. I just want to figure out where exactly we differ. And do you think that we have done a good job? Forget Donald Trump. Did the three previous presidents, Clinton, Bush, and Obama, do a good job containing the nuclear arsenal of North Korea? They did nothing. When something could have been done, they did nothing. And it shows you're objective because one of them is a Republican. How do you see the future? Dimly. No, I don't see the future. I think Trump will make America greater than it is today. I have hope for our future. God is still with us. I agree with all of that. I do agree with that, by the way. Absolutely, that is correct. Not only that, I think he's getting better and better, to be honest. I think he's feeling more secure. It's an unbelievable learning curve from, real estate development and The Apprentice to President of the United States. I'm quite amazed, actually. I thank God he was elected, and I even among conservatives, this is the saddest part to me. Among conservative intellectuals, I'm in the minority. The minority of conservative intellectuals, my fellow writers at National Review, are very ambivalent about Donald Trump. Because he doesn't talk like they do. He doesn't talk like I do. I don't talk that way. So what? That's not my criterion. Let me tell you something that's very painful for me to recount because it was only because I remember it so vividly. How long ago was it? Last election day. On election day itself, that Tuesday, I had Ann Coulter on my show. And she said, Dennis, if Hillary wins, I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember the exact words, but it's essentially accurate. Dennis, if Hillary wins, there's really no hope, and talk radio won't even matter. And my mind raced, and I will tell you exactly what went through my mind. Do I tell my audience the truth, or do I make my audience feel good? This is a very real tear for me, because if I can't enthuse you, give you hope, etc., then you're not going to listen to me as much, and I don't blame you. To be honest. So I thought, it's amazing how fast the mind works when in emergency mode. And I thought, well, should I differ with her and say no, because I thought Hillary was going to win. So do I let what she said go unresponded to? Do I say, well, and listen, even if she wins, we're going to still play a very important role here in talk radio and in keeping up the spirit of America and in fighting for what's right. But I shared her despair at the thought of 4 more years of the left governing the country. And I said nothing. I let her comment go unresponded to. Because I owe you honesty even before I owe me ratings. That is the way I looked at it. And it's a gamble, and it was a big gamble that day. I have to tell you, on that night, my joy was so great that I think it definitely rivaled the birth of my 2 sons. This may be an awful thing for a father to say, but when I think of the endorphin level in both of those cases, I think that they were comparable. I must tell you, and here is the best part though. Do you know what I watched all night? CNN and MSNBC. I didn't watch Fox for 1 minute. And I admit to you, I do. This is. You're not getting me saying this. Oh no. Phil, it's okay. I'm kidding. Okay, that's fine. You can even get. I admit this may be a moral lapse, but I 100% engaged in Schadenfreude, joy at others' suffering. I fully admit it is not a noble sentiment as a normal thing, but watching them watch the biggest train crash of their life, it was precious. It was just a precious evening. And I will tell you this, he is so. I was against him being nominated, and then I supported him once he got the nomination. I did not expect him to be the conservative that he turned out to be. In fact, there was very little evidence that he would be. This is an amazing cabinet. The things he is doing are by and large amazing. I played last night, by the way, a call that he had made in April to a black woman who lost her husband in Afghanistan. And he didn't even know it was recorded. You should hear it. It is so human. He spoke for her so long, and he was so real. He wasn't reading a piece of paper, and he was responding to everything she said. He wasn't acting in automatic mode. Now I'm to believe that to that black widow of a man killed in action, he was so terrific, but I'm supposed to believe that his tone was racist with another black woman whose husband was killed in Niger? I can't believe that. I don't believe that. It's too bad that wasn't recorded. So we're very lucky right now. We're very lucky. America got a reprieve. Yep. All right. How can we help Prager Force on campus? Prager Force is a very amazing thing. It's almost 1,000 now. Everyone I've met has really been special. Young men and women on campuses who show the videos to others and make the case for America and our values that you and I share. So the question was, how can we help Prager for? What is the answer, Alan? The answer is write a check. Okay, that's my man. I want to tell you this. I'll tell you another thing. This I would never. By coming on the trip, you hear things you don't hear on the radio. What? Yeah, we know what to do with the money. That's the truth. Yes, that's right. Help us. That's correct. I find it hard to ask for anything. But which, by the way, to show you how genes and home life may not influence kids at all. One of those who was hired, not by me, I had nothing to do with this, was hired a couple of years ago to raise funds for Prager University, is one of my two sons, my older son, David. David has an ability to ask people for funds. I cringe. I rather walk on hot coals than ask for $1. So I'm going to tell you a story. This was one of the great moments. So a very generous donor to Prager University who lives in Orange County, David, my son David, lives in Florida. And he came to LA and he said, Dad, we have to visit this man. He's given a substantial amount of money, and let's just go and thank him. So once he said, let's just go and thank him, I was relieved. Okay, thank you, I'm really good at it. But if you would have said, let's go and ask for more, I would have told him that I have diphtheria. And so, anyway, so we went to the guy, and it's from LA to Orange County is like from here to the Galilee. And so we went, and at some point he just looked at the guy and he goes, I don't remember the guy. I remember the guy's last name, but not his first name. It was a wonderful older couple. They're very sweet people. And he goes, so, can we count on you for another? And then he mentions the sum. And the guy goes, sure. And I'm thinking, oh my God, how did he do that? There are people who have that ability. Fundraisers are about as rare in the human species as any profession. I think there are more great astrophysicists than fundraisers. But somehow or other, my own child got this ability, and that's what he's professional. He advises charities on how to raise funds. He has developed methods. He's very charming, and he's very real, and people love him. I'm delighted, because it takes me off the hook. I just sit there and cringe while he asks them for money, and then it works, and I don't have to say a word except thank you. Thank you. The Danish are delicious. That's what I'm at. The Danish are delicious. By the way, I haven't had a Danish in 8 weeks. Just want to tell you, I have not had sugar in 8 weeks. You're damn right, I deserve an applause. I deserve a standing ovation, for God's sake. Let me tell you something. No, thank you very much, that's good. I was being hyperventilating, but I do want you to know it's really easy. I do periodically feel homicidal, but other than that, do any of you live on no sugar? Would you raise your hands? Is there anybody else here who is 4 of you? That's about right. Are you a diabetic? You just live on no sugar. Do you miss dessert? Oh, well then it's no credit to you. Big deal. She doesn't miss dessert. What the hell? No, I don't do it in moderation. I'm not doing it. It's very funny though. I told my wife, can I be very open with you? Are we really open? Like you won't think less of me? I said, honey, I just got to tell you, the first time in my adult life, and I mean since 13, I'm thinking of something more than sex. Dessert. Yeah, dessert. It's now, it just has filled in that area of my brain. Dessert. Okay. You see, that's what happened. I just mentioned Danish, and where does my mind go? That's right. Okay. Okay. I will remember that. I won't repeat it, but I'll remember it. Let's see. Supporters of sanctuary cities recently have used the biblical cities of refuge justification for their cause. Oh, God. Oh, you're kidding. They did? I never heard that. Sanctuary cities in the Bible are for people who commit murder unintentionally, so that nobody will kill them. Because in the ancient world, if I killed a member of your family, somebody in the family tried to kill me. But now nobody could touch you. You are saved from being hurt. That's what a sanctuary city is. Oh, they don't even know what they're talking about. Oh, that's a shock. Okay, now I explain the difference. That's frightening when they use the terms that have such good meaning and then make that stuff up. Let's see. Why did Jews stop reading the Bible at the Old Testament? Why did they not believe in the New Testament? Every religion has a cutoff point where it believes that prophecy has essentially, official prophecy has ended. For Christians, it ends with the New Testament. A Mormon could ask a normative or other Christian, why do you believe it ends with the New Testament and doesn't continue with the Book of Mormon? A Muslim could ask a Jew and a Christian, why do you believe it ends with yours? We believe it ends with the Quran. Every religion has an end point of its divine prophecy. That's all. It's as simple as that. Okay. Got one more? All right, here we go. That'll be a good one, you're right. Dear Mr. Prager, is it okay if we bring you cigars? Yes, it is. No, that is not here. I made that up entirely. It was a completely self-serving final question. I just thought I'd throw that in. Because I'm normal. I think it's part of my appeal. Do you know I'm actually normal? Isn't that funny? I often think, why do people respond positively? And you know what it is? And it's not self-serving. I analyze me as if I am outside of me. It is so powerful to be real. People love real. And that's why, by the way, I was just talking about this in the car yesterday when coming back from Prager University to Alan and Sue, and that's why I've never understood why people are attracted to fake politicians. I don't understand why they don't say, that's not real. I've never, if there's one thing Donald Trump is, it's real. All right, I mean, that one has to, you may say he's really awful, really coarse, really crude, really this, really that, but he's real. That struck a lot of people as worth it, even at the price of some coarseness and crudity and so on. That's a wonderful thing. So I don't understand, and you know, I have never attacked individuals as individuals. I'm very strict about that. This is not meant as an attack on her. It's only an attack on those who don't see this, and it's a puzzle to me. I admit it. I totally understand why, if you're on the left, you would have voted for Hillary Clinton. I completely understand that. Fine. What I don't understand is why you would have a bond. That's what I didn't understand, because I don't see her as real. I have no better sense of who she is today than when I first, quote unquote, met her when she was First Lady of the United States. I don't know her from Eve. I don't know what makes her tick. There are people that there are Democrats I think are real. In other words, I don't believe every Democrat, and I don't believe every Republican is real. There are a lot of Republicans who talk like automatons. But that's what is a puzzle, and I don't have the answer to. Isn't real attractive? And I don't have a full response to that. But it's good. There are a lot of questions left. Anyway, God bless you. Be with you soon. Thank you, and have a great Shabbat.
Thank you, Dennis. Dennis is going to be hanging around us for a few more minutes. Turn on your earpieces, please, back to your guides so that the shepherds can lead the little flocks. The next few days are all about Jerusalem, so you'll have a fantastic time, but tomorrow is the Dead Sea and Masada. Grab your bathing suit. It's going to be fun, fun, fun. Long day, but be sure that you are ready. Talk to your guides if you have any questions, and we will see you as we go on. Have a Shabbat Shalom, we say, a blessed, peaceful Sabbath. Thank you.